graduate of Woodward Academy, as well as studying at Oxford College of Emory University and Emory, where he received his BA and got his Juris Doctor from the University of Cincinnati College of Law. And one of your specialties is bullying, I understand. This is where a great deal of concern and conversation is taking place in your practice.
Definitely.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's been great to be here.
So let's talk a little bit about this because in terms of bullying, okay, because the person in the White House has often been called the bully in charge. There is that goes on even as adults and into of course leading from childhood but to adulthood. But this does play a part in some of the choices that we make too, because people may feel bullied in terms of the candidates that they are being asked to elect or to vote for. So how do we talk to especially our children in terms of bullying and the larger picture of our society?
I definitely think bullying is a major problem. I helped lead the new legislation here in Georgia in 2014 to outlaw bullying. So I've been intricately involved in that anti-bully movement. But what I think that as parents we have to do is to make sure that we love on our children and make sure they understand that bullying is not the way. It's actually a misdemeanor here in Georgia. If you disrupt the public school, you can be charged with a misdemeanor. So we need to make sure that they understand that there are strong ramifications for bullying. I know at the highest level in this nation, we have the Twitter in chief, the bully in chief, but we as parents need to instill in our young people morals and qualities that understand that's not the way to go. And then we have to push back on that behavior and tell them that that's not appropriate.
Can that lead to the problems that we have with criminal justice and some of the other issues that you deal with?
Absolutely. There's statistics that show that 1 in 4 individuals that bully in school go on to commit juvenile acts and then go on to commit criminal acts and then are introduced into the criminal industrial complex or mass incarceration. So it's definitely leads you down that path.
Wow. I'm thinking about a lot of the influencers. I don't want to throw any names out there, but you can imagine something I'm talking about. Music artists, athletes, etc., who have been incarcerated, who have broken certain laws or what have you, but been able to use some of their celebrity power to reverse certain things in their favor. With that taking place, is that setting a good precedence for some of our young people who don't have access to the same things that they had concerning criminal justice, concerning incarceration, and concerning being locked up, all of those different type of things? Do you see it as a plus? Do you see it as a negative? What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I think that criminal justice reform is at the forefront. So having individuals who've been a part of the system helps to elevate the call. But I think the professionals need to come to the front and lead the charge on what criminal justice reform really looks like. I appreciate celebrities like Meek Mill and Jay-Z and individuals who have had some sort of contact with the criminal justice system, lending their voice to allow space for the professionals to come, but we don't need them leading the call because criminal justice reform to be productive has to happen on the state level, not the federal level. 1 in 8 individuals who commit a crime are in federal prison. The other 7 are in state prisons. So we need to really deal with criminal justice reform on the state level. Here in Georgia, we had a governor who was proactive in pushing back and pushing on criminal justice reform, and that would be Governor Nathan Deal. But now we have a governor who seems to be ramping up mass incarceration back in the state that is the #1 state for incarceration. So we have to make sure we have the professionals in the room with the solutions and bringing those solutions forward. I appreciate the entertainers, but they need to take a back seat now that the issue has raised to a heightened awareness.
What does criminal justice look like for the average person in terms of seeking justice for a parent or a grandparent in getting justice for their child who may now be in the system or grandchild? What does that look like for them in reforming what we have now?
In reforming what we have, it means having access to effective legal representation and criminal defense. And I think that's where we're missing the ball. I think that you have to have appropriate funding of public defender's office, appropriate funding of individuals that do indigent defense, because if it's unbalanced, then you're going to have an unbalanced system. And I'm going to say something that's real radical. We also have to deal with the judges, because when you have 85 to 95% of the judges on the bench are former prosecutors, you have a real imbalance in the system. So we have to deal with structural changes within the system, starting in the state courts and moving up to the federal courts. Because if you have an imbalance in the system that is targeted at one group and one group in particular, you're going to have massive injustice in the criminal justice system.
Wow.
And does that come back to the voting aspect then? Because we are electing, and in many levels, we're electing these judges as well to their jobs.
Definitely. Georgia is one of the states that directly elects judges, all the way from the magistrate court judge all the way up to the Supreme Court justice here in the state of Georgia. And then on the federal level, you have judges that are appointed by the President of the United States. So when you have a right-leaning thought process, then you're going to have judges that are tough on crime, which means they're tough on brown and black folks, and you're going to see the war on poor people, which is the war on black people, which is the war on drugs. And so we have to deal with these things in a thoughtful and intentional perspective. And I think that's why we have to really talk about what real criminal justice reform looks like. It looks like not only decriminalizing marijuana, but erasing all the marijuana convictions for these individuals who have low level amounts of marijuana. It's about cash bail reform, so you're not held in jail because you can't afford to bail out, because everyone that's in pretrial detention is innocent. You can't be tough on somebody if they're innocent because they have not been convicted. And 87 to 90, I'm sorry, 88% of the individuals that are in jails are there on pretrial, which means they are there being held waiting for trial. We have to streamline the process by giving people their day in court, having trials, and making sure that the citizens serve on juries so that we can make sure that the convictions are in fact fair.
You snap with that one. So you're saying that then people are just sitting in this holding pattern, just waiting.
Oh yeah, we
And
have
for a long time.
We have people in Rice Street right now that have been waiting on trial for 4 years, and Rice Street is the Fulton County Jail.
Wow.
We have individuals in DeKalb County that have been sitting for 2 years pre-trial because they can't. Well, no, not on misdemeanors, but on felonies. Okay. Some misdemeanors you can sit as long as 6 months if you don't have the amount to post bail, and that's why we need bail reform. We've had bail reform in the city of Atlanta, but we need state level bail reform. There's a bill currently pending in the Georgia State Legislature, and we have to talk about this gang initiative. It's House Bill 994. It's the attempt by the Republican governor to criminalize communities of color by saying that 3 or more individuals that are joined together and one is suspected of criminal activity can be arrested and charged and given heightened sentences. It's currently pending right now, and it's the reintroduction of mass incarceration, because a basketball team could be 3 or more, a rap group could be 3 or more, production company, and if one person is suspected of criminal activity, the entire group can be charged and assets can be forfeited. There was also a provision in this bill that's been taken back to reintroduce the death penalty for gang-related murders. And it also lowered the age of individuals that could be prosecuted from 13 to 17 to be tried as adults. This is pending in Georgia right now.
So you're going in another direction with that statement. I want to get your thoughts as far as, we're talking about different candidates, but what about self-governance, meaning being educated, and how does that play into one's own social justice reform? You talk about, hey, I didn't know that. We could have rode over here tonight as station mates all in the same car and been viewed as the RadioOne gang. You feel what I'm saying?
Exactly.
And now we're susceptible to this.
If it passes, yes.
This is serious.
Very serious.
So what are some things concerning self-governance, education, and what are some outlets in which we can find more information concerning these things so that we're aware and don't put ourselves in position where the system can take advantage of us?
And see, I think that's why this is so important. And Radio One is doing this in partnership with the NAACP, because holding our elected officials accountable is paramount. You can go to the leg.ga.gov website and learn all of the statutes that are pending. And you
Repeat
can
that
know
again.
legis.ga.gov. That is the state government's website where they tell you all the Senate bills and all the House bills. If we're going to be self-determinant, we got to take back our state government. We have to take back our local government. We have to elect people on the federal level that listen directly to the people. But the only way the people can be educated is if they know what's actually happening. And so that's the best way to educate yourself. Join with organizations like the NAACP that keep you apprised of what's happening in the state house and the federal house. And so we can know these things. So if we're going to be self-determinative, we have to know what the laws are on the books, and we have to make sure we hold our political uh, um, candidates accountable to what the will of the people is.
I love it, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Listen,
Attorney Griggs, thank you.
we definitely want to hear from the voices that are in the audience right now. So we want to go to some of our station mates with some of the questions that the audience have.
Okay, great. It says keeping people out of prison starts with police accountability. What is being done to keep police from profiling and arresting young Black men?
That's an excellent question. And that's one of the pillars of the NAACP for the last 3.5 years is police accountability. And what I want people to know, there is a solution to the police accountability problem. It's just not being talked about. It's the Obama 21st Century Policing Initiative, which is a solution to police accountability. Not one law enforcement agency in this country has fully implemented all 92 recommendations. And so we have to push our elected officials to codify the Obama 21st Century Policing Initiative. It deals with police and citizens encounters. It deals with police well-being and safety. It deals with technology, and it deals with issues of direct accountability. So that's the solution, and I thank you for that question. It's the Obama 21st Century Policing Initiative.
I'm not trying to be funny or anything, but cell phones also work with that, don't they?
They do, and that's why we've sent several police officers to prison in this county, the next county, and all over the state of Georgia. But we also need legislation. There are 6 courageous young women that are under the Gold Dome that have proposed a bill for police accountability in Georgia, and we need to make sure that it's passed because we don't have a database to keep track of the uses of force in this state, and we just got one on the federal level for the FBI to keep track of use of force on the federal level. So we need real transparency. Cell phones add transparency, but we need our government to do that,
Of
not just the
course.
people.
Of course.
Man, I wish we had more time. You know, you are a think tank. We want to thank you for all of your insight. If people want to stay connected with you, how can they do so?
They can follow me on all social media at Attorney Griggs, ATTORNEYGRIGGS, or they can go to the Atlanta NAACP's website, atlantaNAACP.org, and follow us. We're always in the streets. We're always in the courthouses, and we're always in the places of power, holding the powerful accountable.
Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.